Alright, you guys, welcome back to the channel. Here for some more Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. Today, we have some additional info in regards to the roster size and cast characters. In the long run of things, I don't think this is going to be affecting me as much as it'll affect other players. Some people might take this as bad news. Just let me know what you guys think about all of this down below in the comments. You guys will understand as soon as we break this down. So without further ado, please make sure to drop a like, turn on post notifications, subscribe if you're new around here. I'll greatly appreciate it. And the first thing that it says is take with a grain of salt, just because this is coming from an article. Apparently, the person who wrote this article had a one-on-one interview with the producer slash developer over at Summer Game Fest. We will bring up the source here shortly. Then it says, due to the engine being rebuilt, not every character from Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 will be on launch for Xenoverse 3. Again, maybe bad news for others. Other players within the community might not necessarily care as much, or maybe some people even expected this, because Xenoverse 2 had a ginormous roster size. The base game alone started off with 85, 86 playable characters. It depends if you pre-ordered and got the Goku Black character. And then with the decade of support, we got a ton of additional DLCs that included about, 50 plus? I think the total roster size now, today, is currently sitting at 144 playable characters, which is pretty dang absurd in a good way, if you ask me. But according to this article, we shouldn't necessarily expect all 144 characters from Xenoverse 2 at the spawn of Xenoverse 3's base roster. Which, if that is the case, I don't think that's a big deal to me, because I don't even play as all 144, only play as a handful of them, maybe two handfuls, some underrated characters as well. But this is not to say that the Xenoverse 3 roster size still won't be gargantuan. There might be 100, 120, 130, or maybe closer to the Xenoverse 2's base roster size, around 80, 90, or even less than that. We honestly have no idea. But the reason why I'm not that afraid or skeptical of this is because this is Dimps we're talking about. They had 85 characters for the base roster of Xenoverse 2, and throughout the many years, they included a ton of DLCs. What was one of their main selling points? Adding characters. This is Dimps. They're aware of the ginormous character roster size that we all care about. That's one of the things they do, something similar to Sparking Zero, adding a lot of characters, but in their own unique, different way. There may not be the same amount, 144 from Xenoverse 2 over in Xenoverse 3, but I still feel like the roster at launch will still be pretty dang vast and great. I don't think they'll just abandon what they've been doing for the first two video games, in my personal opinion. I definitely see them removing the super villainous characters. You guys know the corrupted Broly, Frieza, 100% form, Janemba, the USV type characters from future Saga chapters as well, just because those guys are more exclusive to the actual Xenoverse 1 and 2 storyline, with Demegra, Towa, Mira, Few kind of developing their own sinister power boost, controlling the villainous characters right off the bat. You know, it makes sense for that story because they have the Time Patrollers, Time Breakers. But since Xenoverse 3 is taking a different route, Age 1000, we don't even know the main antagonist just yet. Yeah, I don't see those guys being in the roster of Xenoverse 3, so they could just be removing those guys. And a little bit more of the base cast characters that are fodder that nobody even plays. I see them including more of the main characters that will actually be a part of the Xenoverse 3 storyline, or maybe just the popular characters from the anime in general. Stuff like that, right? And that's also not to say that Xenoverse 3 won't have like their own exclusive powered up warriors. If there is that new antagonist that consumes enemies with a different power-up, you know? But I do think some people hoped to see Xenoverse 3's roster to be at least the same as Xenoverse 2, is because they did this with Xenoverse 2 from Xenoverse 1, right? So Xenoverse 1 had about 46 characters base roster, and then with the 3 additional DLCs, the 2 GT ones, and then the Resurrection of F saga, that included about 11 more with the pre-order bonus Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. Yeah, total for Xenoverse 1 was sitting at 58. And then Xenoverse 2, the base roster with 85, almost double. And then with the DLCs, 144 today. So I do understand why some people would expect Xenoverse 3's roster to be exactly the same as Xenoverse 2, where it left off with all the characters and DLCs. But according to this article, don't think that's going to be the case. But again, doesn't necessarily mean the Xenoverse 3 base roster still won't be large. A cool other fact over here is that Xenoverse 3 has a brand new engine, which I think in the article they did say something about it's a bit hard or tough on them to just import everything from a different engine. This is why Xenoverse 2's development time was so short. Xenoverse 1 came out, and then a year and a half later, or yeah, close to that, Xenoverse 2 eventually released, right? Because Xenoverse 2's engine was the same exact as Xenoverse 1, so they already had a foundation. Since Xenoverse 3 is being built with this new engine, it makes sense why it took them 6 to 7 years of development time. New gameplay, graphics, art style, features, mechanics, just built from the ground up. And I think the article also says something about playable cast characters. Dragon Ball Game News went ahead and said, also, this confirms playable characters from the actual series. I don't know how anyone ever believed we would not be able to play as them, which, yeah, that's pretty dang evidence to me as well. Why would they create a Dragon Ball game where you wouldn't be able to play as the iconic cast characters? But I do understand why some people were a bit skeptical about cast characters being playable, I guess, because of the new added feature, Soul Change, where the CACs literally transforms into any cast character. Just depends whatever soul change you have at the time. Now, that's optional. That's not going to be a core mechanic for the actual gameplay. It's been confirmed somewhere else. Soul Change replaces your standard Super Saiyan Awoken skill. So if you wanted to, you can just have the traditional Awoken abilities, whatever they may be. Potential Unleash, Kaioken, Super Saiyan, God modes. You can still have that option. So if you don't necessarily like transforming into the cast characters, then just don't pick it, right? It's a feature for the people who want to play as the cast, I guess, even though you can probably pick them right off the bat. But this is going to be the article. Shoutouts to Noisy Pixel for writing all of this. They had a one-on-one interview with Hirano-san, the producer slash developer of the Xenoverse 3 or the entire franchise in general, during the time of Summer Game Fest 2026. Player expectations, roster concerns, and style. Of course, Xenoverse fans aren't exactly shy about what they want, and this is where the sequel has to be careful. Players are going to care about the roster, customization, and the years of content they've already invested in Xenoverse 2, because for a lot of them, this series isn't something they casually reset. Nobody wants to hear a new era and then realize that everything they loved now has to be slowly resold or reintroduced over another decade. Fair enough. Hirano-san seemed aware of that expectation and said that Team knows fans love the large number of characters in the Xenoverse games. So they know what we like, the customizations. It's just preference, right? I know Xenoverse is mainly surrounding the CACs, so people just care about their CACs, just play as them, to each their own. I like to play as both CACs and cast characters. So again, they're aware of the community's excitement for the large number of roster, right? However, he also confirms that Xenoverse 3 isn't being built on the same foundation as the first two entries. Xenoverse 1 and 2 shared the same core game engine, as I explained before, but with Xenoverse 3, we rebuilt the engine in order to develop the game. A rebuilt engine sounds exciting and scary at the same time because it suggests Xenoverse 3 is more than an expansion dressed up as a sequel, but it also means the team can't casually carry everything forward without hard work. So they can bring over some things, but they have to modify things to make it work properly under Xenoverse 3's new engine. And you know the funny thing here, I like how they said more than just an expansion dressed up as a sequel. Now, Xenoverse 2 from Xenoverse 1, it was a huge improvement, you know what I mean? And Xenoverse 3, now it seems to be completely different. Of course, the core features with the CACs, story-driven RPG elements, all that is going to be the same but better. But I don't know, because some people I've seen in the community do like the direction that Xenoverse 3 is taking, and other people don't necessarily like the direction that Xenoverse 3 is taking. People are saying that it doesn't even remind them of Xenoverse. It reminds them more of like Battle of Z, Kakarot, or The Breakers, which that's fine. You know, you guys can have your own ideas, but man, I'm so excited for this game. It seems like they're going to be doing everything right, because I honestly didn't want Xenoverse 3 to be like Xenoverse 2, but an expansion of it with the DLCs. That's essentially what they're doing now with the Future Saga chapters. So having Xenoverse 3 being somewhat or even slightly different from the prequels, I'm down for it. I think it's going to be a great time. Hirano-san said, getting all the characters into the new game will be a challenge. So right there, that's confirmation of playable cast characters. Now, to be fair, Hirano-san said that getting all characters from Xenoverse 2 will be a challenge and didn't necessarily say it can't be done. So who knows, man? Who knows? As what the article said earlier, they are aware of the excitement around a large Dragon Ball roster. So it's possible at the end of the day, maybe not all 144, as I said before, a good amount, maybe around in the 100 range, 120. I'm just trying to keep my expectations low and not necessarily expecting all 144, you know? Though he also noted that the team has redesigned a lot of the gameplay mechanics as part of the process. Yeah, something that we already noticed. If Xenoverse 3 is going to ask fans to move on from a game that lasted nearly 10 years, it needs to feel like someone looked at the whole thing and asked what actually needed to be changed. A rebuilt engine doesn't automatically mean the game will feel better. True, and fans probably shouldn't assume that until they get their hands on it. Hey man, a lot of criticism going on for Xenoverse 3 at the moment, and nobody has played the game. We've seen demo footage of it. Even the content creators who provided the footage themselves, they haven't played the game or the demo. They were shown the actual footage, right? So we just have to wait to actually get our hands on to criticize the game fully. But I do get that we can speak about the gameplay itself, don't get me wrong. Still, it does show that Bandai Namco and Dimps understand the sequel has to do more than keep the lights on. So this article has more to it, but I just really wanted to go over the characters, the cast characters, and the roster size. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think about all of this. I think it's an interesting read. Now, we do have even more statements over here. Shout out to DBS Hype for sharing. Hiranu's statement on whether GT and Daima characters or content will be in Xenoverse 3 or not. Now, I couldn't find the full source or article for this, so we're just going to be reading the image that we have here. Will we see characters or content from GT or Daima crossing over into the game at launch? Good question. Hirano responded with, because our sandbox is rooted squarely in a brand new timeline within Age 1000, how we explicitly bridge the gap to past anime series and spin-offs is a closely guarded secret for now. In my personal opinion, I do think it's possible to get Daima content right off the bat. Maybe not. Actually, I'm not entirely sure about that anymore, because just going off of Sparking Zero, they had the Daima content as DLC, which that one makes sense. I don't even think Daima was out when Sparking Zero came out. Yeah, so that one was obvious. Of course, the Daima characters would have been DLCs. But since it's now out, will they be part of the base roster? Characters from the superhero movie and the DBS Broly movie, the two latest movies, I feel like that should be part of the base game. In my opinion, I don't think they should be DLCs because those movies came out a while ago and it's just basic stuff at this point. You know what I mean? However, the future setting gives us a clean slate to incorporate elements elegantly, so stay tuned. Hey man, I'm not fearing for anything over here. I trust in Hirano-san. You know, I truly believe Xenoverse 3 is going to be a great game right off the bat. You know, they had Xenoverse 1, Xenoverse 2, many years of experience within the same franchise, right? So now they're doing their thing to trying to make the game even better, focusing around the core mechanics and stuff like that. This is it for today's video. Just wanted to discuss about this. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I would greatly appreciate that. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!